I think my big point about this series and this show, and I don't know if this is a bigger thing with TV at some point, because we were talking about I have not seen it, but you were talking about like The Haunting of Bly Manor or whatever that Netflix show is. And you had some criticisms about it that I think you were saying more generally applies to kind of prestige TV at this point, and that there was a podcast I listened to on The Watch that talked about this, which is like the episodes the series feel almost artificially stretched out, in that you're bringing a cinematic vision to something, but you're stretching it out because you need 10 episodes of something to make it a TV show instead of a miniseries. Right. And so you end up with these long, sort of ponderous character things where it's characters talking about stuff. And I was kind of wondering if this is a larger shift towards a younger writing staff generation, where like we came in on the precipice of social media, but I'm honestly started like the big thing that sticks out to me is that this incredible focus on emotion. Like everything is just how the character feels, but at the same time, it's not coupled with an experience. So It's this generation that grew up on social media. This is just all what I'm like spitballing here. It's this social media generation.
Angry Dad Wes.
But
has thoughts about social media.
I certainly feel in my life that my experiences have gone down as I've gotten older, and social media probably plays a part in some of that, because it's like a lot of my stuff is now absorbed through the mechanism of social media. And I'm wondering if there's a generation coming up that doesn't really have experiences anymore, that are like real world experiences, that they do things. They're so online and they're so connected that the only thing that they know is that they're supposed to be emotional about everything, but they don't have a story to tell about why they're emotional in the first place. And that feels like Discovery to me. It's just, it's a lot of characters talking to each other with a swelling score. Everyone's crying all the time. Tilly has not seen Burnham for what in her terms is a day. She hasn't seen it for a day. She just came through the wormhole and they had that cowboy experience that took 6 hours, and then Burnham rescued her. Why are they emotional about this? There's no reason for her to be sad. Burnham I can kind of buy, but I don't even buy Burnham because it's only been a year, which is not an effective amount of time. But that's my core issue is that it just makes me wonder if this is a reflection of like the current experience of growing up, really, is that like you're so disconnected from actual events that happen. Like you're only seeing things online and you're only absorbing stuff that comes at you with no real hands-on experience to it. I just wonder if it has some kind of impact because it's just so perfectly mirrors. And I know a lot of the writers are older, so this is not actually the case, but it just seems so hand in hand with each other that I find it very frustrating.
Well, the Tilly scene was for me more about she was kind of processing everybody who had died and like the stuff that they had gone through. But still, yeah, it's, I don't know. I mean,
who's emotional? Tilly's emotional. You're talking about.
Yeah. Cause she's, putting the pins for all the dead people up on the board there. I assume that's what she was doing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand her. To be fair, they have been through a lot. Having just defeated Control, jumped through time, beat up a space pirate, and then, all in the span of like 48 hours, essentially. So I can understand where she needs a minute. But generally, I don't disagree that it's...
but it's only an intellectual minute. This character has never... There's been no sense of building a community on this ship. I'd still I don't know the other bridge officer names. I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with them now because I recognize their faces because they've been the same people for a couple episodes at this point. But like Tilly, this is not... Discovery wants me to assume that just because Tilly, the character, knows these people, she's going to be sad about it. But to me, it's just like, the fuck? Like, no one has really bonded with me, the viewer, in this sense. So your idea to just jump ahead in time and have Tilly be sad about it is that's really the most frustrating part of it, because it's people overly emotional about stuff that the show is not really setting up to be emotional about. So you sit there and you go, stop fucking crying, stop crying, just move and do something.
It's also I think this is a problem with a lot of modern TV too, is it's people getting emotional over stuff that we didn't see. Like there's a lot of reference and emotional stakes built into stuff that we're not actually seeing on the show.
Which is my social media point. They're like,
Right.
people are supposed to get upset because they heard about something that happened,
Yeah.
and there's no connection to it.
So it ends up you have characters talking about stuff a lot and getting emotional while they're talking about the stuff that they did, but we just got to kind of take them at their word that it's a big deal.
Mm.
And it's exemplified perfectly in the back and forth with Book and
Burnham.
Burnham, where they're just talking about
The good old
this
days
crazy-
that happened in the,
Yeah, the good old
past
days
2
of-
months.
8 weeks ago. Yeah, it's just really strange that they're the stuff that they're talking about and getting emotional about does not compute necessarily with the show you're actually watching. And I think that's where the disconnect is happening for me, because it's like, okay, these people are getting emotional and this stuff is happening, but what I'm actually watching take place in the show doesn't seem to mirror that. Or those emotions are not born from anything that's happening in the show.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say anything. Some things come through, but a lot of it seems to be artificial.
I think it's hampered by it's relentless too. There's nary a scene where someone is not impacted by something.